Hello and welcome to my very late, but yet, as promised, last video in this class in behavior management. My apologies to anybody who's been anxiously awaiting for this. Had kind of a rough weekend this last weekend with travel with the band and just sort of recovering from that. So nonetheless, should have had it out there. But what I'm going to do with this video is a quick review of the final assignment in this class. Many of you have already submitted this. If after I have done this video, you feel that you need to make changes in your assignment, go ahead and do that. Just upload a new version of it if you feel like you're going to do that. I can see if I go in without any information and I go into a Dropbox and there's two, I figured the latest one is the one you want me to look at. And that's what I do. So you don't even have to reach out to me, or if you need some extra time, any of you that need some extra time to put this on, just reach out to me. We have plenty of time left in the semester. So the details of this assignment are outlined in the last chapter in the course book, Special Assignments. It's my term for sort of grand semester-long assignments. This is the stuff we've been talking about all semester. So this is really the culmination of everything that you've learned in terms of designing a plan to address a behavior of your own and using the tools of behavior management to make a change. Now, I've also been harping on the idea that some of this is very experimental. So when you're looking at your behavior, you're going to take that functional perspective and you look at, usually when we want, usually many people take on behaviors, either behaviors they want to get rid of or a new behavior they want to add, or a more consistent behavior. Now, the important thing to remember is you're always behaving. So if you're doing something that you want to get rid of, you have to look at the function of that behavior in your life. You have to consider, what am I getting out of that? What am I avoiding? Remember, getting away from something, getting something. What am I doing there? Conversely, if we are looking at, and this is a tricky one, if we're looking at adding a behavior, let's say you want to get into working out, common one that comes up in this class, you want to get into working out and you want to set those dates, you want to look at what you're doing usually during that time. What is the behavior? We're always behaving, so you're either working out or you're doing something else. Let's look at that something else and what function is it serving, and how can exercising serve that same function? Or maybe there is that appear, you've select, I'm going to do this in the morning. I'll share maybe TMI here. I'm trying to get into some routine of exercising. I keep on scheduling them in the morning and I just don't feel up to it to get, waking up at 5 in the morning, having a coffee. And the last thing on my mind is getting on the Bowflex or going to jump rope someplace. It's just not what I want to do. So I've been looking at the functions of my morning routine and what they mean to me. And it's turning out that the behaviors that I engage in the morning are sort of waking up, feeling connected to the world, doing those kinds of things that maybe I don't want to mess with those. So if I'm going to have a successful plan, I'm going to be messing with behaviors that are important to me at that time of day. So now I'm looking at a different time of day in this long drawn out effort to build a routine of working out. So remember everything that you've learned. So you're looking at the function of the behavior, you're looking at the function of the behavior it's replacing, those kinds of things. And then you move into creating the behavior plan. Now the behavior plan provides a reinforcer, not the natural reinforcer that usually comes with that behavior. Too many times I have people, the reinforcer is I'm gonna look good, feel good, I'm gonna be healthier and all that. That's true. That's awesome. But that's not a reinforcer. If those things have always been true and they have not been enough for you to maintain these behaviors. So what you need is you need to sweeten the pot a little bit. You need to put something on the line. You need to take something that you do usually, maybe during that time, and you reward yourself with that later. You need to get the people around you involved in helping you find ways for them to reward you for following through with your plan. You need to have that reinforcer that is not intimately attached to the behavior itself. This is particularly important when you're looking at anything with the goal of weight loss. Weight loss is sporadic. Our bodies metabolize things very differently. Some people have very quick weight loss and they plateau, having nothing to do, well, it has to do with the behavior, but it is irrelevant of the consistent pattern of behavior. Weight can go up and down for all kinds of reasons, and it can be very discouraging if you're thinking the shedding of pounds is what you're going to record by sticking to your diet. That will not work, because you will go, a whole bunch of weeks having perfect diet and gain a pound, and that is very, very frustrating. So you have to reward the behavior with something. I'm just reiterating everything that we've been working on in this course. That thing that you're going to reward yourself, it's got to be something you really want. If the behavior is really hard to do, if you don't have a lot of motivation to do it, you're going to have to put something equally important on the line. The pay needs to match the work. Just like in our economy, if I'm going to be asked to, there was just an article I read on LinkedIn where someone was analyzing a job, and the job was very upfront with saying we're looking for people who want to work 70 hours a week because they care about their job and blah blah. It's a salaried position, and the person made a calculation that at 70 hours a week, it was, I think, $7 an hour. And it was like, no, I'm not going to work that much for that little. So you have to build a plan that accommodates for that. Because this is within a time frame class, you're looking at I'm sort of presuming you've already been collecting data and you're pretty much getting at the end of this whole thing, even though I'm teaching you about the assignment right now. Reach out to me if that's not the case. And you may have to fudge around with it. You have to make a determination within this assignment as to whether or not the plan is working. And then either implement a change or recommend a change. So let's take a look at the grading rubric for this particular assignment here. We have a title page, the first page of the document, in title page format. Then we have an identification of the problem. And then we have the ABC, the ABC plan. So the identification of the problem is, I'm out of shape, I need to work out, I've tried different plans, blah, blah. There's the problem. It's not the same as the ABC statement, which is going to include the A, the B, and the C, the actual delineation of that. So you have the ABC. I will be evaluating your B's. I'll be evaluating all A, B, and C for their viability and to determine whether your behavior meets the dead man's test and stranger test. Then you implement that plan. You have a record of the results. This is a record of, if you said you're going to be doing this, a number of times a week or every day, I should see a chart, saying when it happened, when it didn't happen, how did the rewards get, if any, did the rewards get rewarded, all of that built into a chart. And maybe even look at some statistics. I implemented this for 2 weeks and I was successful 75% of the time. The plan worked. I met my target behavior, having conclusive results. Then you evaluate the plan. What did it work? What was wrong with it? Was the behavior not clearly defined? Is the reinforcer not strong enough? Did barriers come up consistently that kept you from being consistent? Now, all of these things, even you know, within this opportunity for you to address behavior problems here in a classroom environment with an expert behaviorist, um, that's not the time to give up. You know, after this class, I mean, clearly, I hope you picked something that was important to you, and what you can carry away is, okay, it seems like the time I was trying to do this, and you know, was getting in the way of the kids' schedule and stuff. That doesn't make it any less important. That means you have to come up with another way to do it. You know, it may have failed. It may have like, oh, all this stuff got in the way. This is all information you take on. You don't get rid of the goal and say, I will never be in shape. This is not, the goal of this was not for you to come to any sort of conclusion that your behavior plan is impossible. Truly you know, you step back from a failed plan and say, what went wrong? How can I make this work with all of this stuff? How can I make this work? And that becomes what you talk about in the evaluation. And then finally, of course, mechanics is all written out well, spelling nicely formatted, good use of bullet points, good use of summary statements, bold typing. There should be identification of the problem, bold. ABC plan, bold. Record of results should be clear. This is like a lab report, very, very clearly, succinct, right to the point, very scientific type paper. And that will be the end. That will be the end. Now, of course, these instructions have been in the class for a really long time, and here we are at the end of the class. And I'm getting around to teaching it. I understand that. I understand. I was hoping, you know, you're working ahead and getting a good understanding of that. Please reach out to me if that's become a problem. You're not able to really get this, haven't started it yet, or you know, something like that. And I'll work with you. Don't worry about that. My goal is not to. Well, my goal is for you to learn this stuff, you know, because it has enhanced my life. I mean, every time I set a goal, I kind of, first I expect it's going to fail, and that's okay. And then it just gives me a project, continue self-improvement project. I have all kinds of them going on at the same time. And it's just nice to have the skill to not, you know, to put a plan together. And yeah, the part of it's me, you know, part of it's my motivation and capacity and whatnot, like we got from our last chapter. But certainly some of it is just like, you know, the plan was not perfect. There was barriers in my plan that got in the way, and it's time to readjust the plan so I can do better. And that's the skill set. Speaking of the last chapter, I didn't really go on enough about it in when I posted that the discussion was graded, but I was quite impressed with how people dove into that and how it seemed like a lot of you were sort of uh, pretty excited about that model and its utility in a number of different ways. And some of you applied it to work, some of you applied it to your own self, some of you applied it to situations in school or any other, you know, places like that. And it's an incredibly powerful tool. And I got a whole degree in psychology and never came across anything like that. And yet in this other related field, it was there. So I'm happy that you got a lot out of it. Happy that I was able to connect you with that material that I never got. Even when I took behavior management, I took 4 of these. You know, sequence classes, sort of like a minor at a degree, a bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in behavior modification. So anyway, thank you again for a great class. It's been awesome. Look forward to reading these plans. I know some of them are submitted. I'll wait a day before I even start grading them. Wait till tomorrow. That will be, today's Wednesday. So I'll wait till Thursday to kind of start looking at them, the ones that are submitted. Just reach out to me if you're like, hold on, Mark, I didn't include something I want, you know, great, no problem. Let's work around that. And if you're like, holy cow, Mark, I didn't even start this yet, you really need to get in touch with me so we can work out a plan. Okay, take care. Have a great rest of your summer, and I look forward to reading your projects. Take it. And remember, course evaluations, get those done. I read them all, and they're important to me. So be well, take care, have a great summer.